I call them shockumentaries, though I believe the actual name for these types of projects are described as mockumentaries. A kissing cousin to found footage, shockumentaries utilize found footage, then piece it all together, not to make the film seem like a cinematically filmed movie, but an actual documentary. Given that true crime documentaries are all the rage and continue to be produced by the truckload on streaming channels, this style of film seems to have secured a place in the horror genre. Today's pick, at number 16, is Strange Harvest. It uses the shockumentary format and does it well, as does the worth noting film that follows. So let's roll the footage and see what we find today on ML Miller Frights Best in Horror Countdown 2024 through 2025. At number 16 is Strange Harvest. It was released on August 8th, 2025, and is available on demand on Amazon Prime from Roadside Attractions, Saban Films, and XYZ Films. It's directed and written by Stuart Ortiz. Strange Harvest plays out like any typical true crime documentary you'd see on Netflix about a series of killings that began in the 90s, stopped for a bit, and then started back once again in the 2010s. The story is told through interviews with two police detectives, played by Peter Zizzo and Terry Apple, who are in charge of this investigation, footage pieced together from the body cams of the police officers involved, crime scene security cameras, and other forms of media, including news reports, blog reports, and so on. But once the brutal killings begin again, the closer the detectives get, the stranger this case becomes. Do me a favor. If you watch Strange Harvest with someone, tell them that this is not a feature film, but an actual documentary. Sure, eventually they're going to figure it out that this is, in fact, a movie, but it would be interesting to see how long it takes for them to realize that it's not an actual true crime doc. If I didn't know for sure, I might have been fooled for a bit because director Stuart Ortiz, who is also responsible for Grave Encounters, as well as the writer for both Grave Encounters films, Extraterrestrial, and It Stains the Sands Red as part of the filmmaking duo known as the Vicious Brothers, Ortiz does a fantastic job of making this film feel as authentic as possible. Like two of my favorite horror shockumentaries, Lake Mungo and the Poughkeepsie Tapes, Strange Harvest stars actors who look like real people and not movie stars for the various conversations as the film puts together this 1,000-piece puzzle of a mystery about a very peculiar serial killer. The film takes its sweet old time getting into the methodology of the killer, instead opening on the discovery of the ritualistic murder of a family. If there would have been a point where I was in doubt that this was a horror film and not a documentary, it would have been the scene close to the beginning where the bodies of the deceased are shown without blurs or large pixels as not to offend or disturb any survivors. Here, the brutal murder of a family is shown with an unblinking eye as it floats from one victim to the other, showing how brutal their final moments were. This is not a film for the weak of heart or stomach, as these bodies are gnarly and the first indication that something very off is going on, making this not your typical serial killing. While the interviewees do a good job of sticking to the facts and not getting into the metaphysical stuff going on, the film does a good job of peppering in what looks to be some cosmic shit occurring, motivating our killer to do what he does. Through security cam footage and computer cameras left on, Savage Harvest is able to show a lot of stuff happening in real time, allowing for that illusion that this is in fact a found footage film, or at least pieces of one. Despite the fact that this is produced in a documentary format, I found these found footage moments to be riveting, as we have already been shown what the killer is capable of in the opening moments, so who knows what kind of depravity is going to happen next. I found myself enwrapped in this movie, especially in the immediate moments where we see these murders taking place as caught on tape. Everything wraps up nicely with a very cool ending that pays off sufficiently. We know something otherworldly is happening, and that these murders are escalating towards some big payoff, and Strange Harvest delivers. I left this one feeling absolutely on edge, knowing that this is a produced film, yet still finding myself getting sucked into the world where this documentary is real. While I found his previous found footage films fun, Stuart Ortiz's Grave Encounters felt light on story and unoriginal with an over-reliance on funhouse jump scares. Extraterrestrial just felt rushed and light on everything from story to execution. None of that is present here, as it seems Ortiz has taken what he has learned from those two found footagers and molded them into what could pass as a real yet twisted documentary. You're going to get sucked into Strange Harvest, and it's not hard to do so. Another project that deftly blends documentary-style interviews with footage found is the YouTube analog horror series, The Asma Journals. This might be a bit of a controversial one, but still, it's worth mentioning. The Asma Journals is a YouTube series that was released on December 25th, 2024, and is streaming on YouTube. It's directed and written by Dan Asma. I provide a link down below where you can watch the entire series for free. After a large area of land is purchased from a developer, played by director-writer Dan Asma, he finds a box of videotapes and journals that suggest the land is haunted by strange creatures that seem to come from a portal located on this mysterious land. I was sent the Asma Journals a while back when it was on its 7th episode, but I waited a bit until the last one was released and then binged all 11 10 to 15 minute episodes, and I think that's going to be the best way to get this strange little series that relies a whole lot on liminal spaces, long quiet shots, jump scares, and other elements that I will talk about in just a minute. But first, the good. The concept which the Asma Journals is based upon is quite fascinating. It proposes that the Earth is much older than we know, and that buried under the mountains and sands and earth are ancient structures we simply haven't discovered yet. On this particular land that the developer is occupying, there seems to be cracks in reality where those past structures and technology can seep through. But these fissures or portals has an adverse effect on the human body, as it was not meant to be able to exist in these multiple planes of existence, rending the body into all sorts of mutations. Writer-director Dan Asma finds this out when he plays the tapes and reads the notebooks he finds on his newly acquired property, and ends up venturing too far into this phenomenon where a return to normalcy becomes less and less of a possibility. While this basically is a concept that is not brand new per se, it is a new way of looking at it. The fact that civilization is cyclical in nature, where it rises from the primordial stew, advances and advances and advances some more, until finally it develops the means to destroy itself. Run, rinse, repeat, and that's the theory this film plays with. That is just plain cool to me. Now, the format this idea is presented on is equally fun. Asma plays some of these old VHS tapes and uncovers the information in real time. For the most part, at least in the earlier episodes, Asma is sitting right there next to us watching these tapes going into this concept, not understanding the ramifications until it's too late. We also get videos Asma takes on the property where he runs into some of these other dimensional mutations the tapes are talking about. So the story is told in a multimedia format which both entertains and immerses the viewer into the imagery. Because of this immersion, I was shocked with some well-timed jump scares, as well as creeped out by the foreboding subject matter the tapes and journals are talking about. So yeah, awesome use of both cheap thrills, the jump scares, and more substantial ones, the lingering analog-style horror we saw in films like Skinamarink. But unlike Skinamarink, Asma smartly adds a story to the mix, making it all the more satisfying. On top of that, the monsters themselves are downright nightmare fuel. Most of them look like people wearing thick practical makeup, either lurking around in the dark background or lurching towards the camera. But the grainy way the camera captures the imagery once again worked for me almost every time it was utilized. Now let's get to the controversial stuff. It appears Dan Asma used pretty much everything he had available to him to make this extremely low-budget movie. While there are moments of cool practical effects, the further into the series the story gets, more and more AI imagery is used to depict strange photos of mutations from the past, as well as other shots which, otherwise, a film of this budget would never have been able to get. Is this morally bad? Well, I'll leave that up to you to decide. Personally, I feel using AI puts an effects artist out of a job, which is definitely not cool. Then again, I support Asma's go-to spirit, nabbing the bull by the horns and saying, I'm going to use everything I have at my disposal to make the best looking film possible, and saving a bit of coin while doing so. If the Asma journals were a large-scale production and used AI art, I think I'd be more pissed, but I can't fault Asma for using this technology as a tool to tell a story in his ultra lo-fi series. That out of the way, the AI imagery is absolutely horrifying. I'm versed enough in the tech to know what is AI and what isn't, but the Asma Journals uses that uncanny valley effect deftly, amping that strange, otherworldly feel these mutated souls have as rendered with the AI tools. It looks like AI, but because the images are so bold, horrifying, and in your face, they work. You or I might not agree with the usage of it, but Asma uses the AI tools to make some scenes that will take permanent residence in your night terrors. The Asma Journals is a YouTube series and not necessarily a movie, though edited together, it is a little over feature length. And while the series is put together with controversial tools, I have to admit the results worked with me. This is low-budget ingenuity at its best here, as the series was made by one man, his camera, and his computer. And to get scares as potent as this, I think the risk Asma took was worth it. As always, feel free to agree, disagree, or how about you play along at home and give me your own picks for your own favorite movies of the year. It's October, so let's talk horror. Come back tomorrow for the next level in the Best in Horror Countdown. Be sure to hit all of those pertinent bells and whistles down below, and you'll never miss a post. Happy Halloween, folks.